WandaVision, Episode 7. Breaking the Fourth Wall? That's what this one's called. A lot of you kids might know the genre they're going for. It's the 2000s, the 2010 sitcoms. It's your Modern Family. It's got some Office vibes. It's a good episode. Not my favorite of the season. I'll be honest with you guys. I think there was a lot of stuff in it I really liked. There's some slow moments that I don't think hurt the show, but it didn't have that same impact I think the previous two episodes had. If I had to say anything, I think this would be my least favorite episode of the season, except for maybe the last couple minutes, because I think that is very important for the overall story. So let's break it down and get into it. First off, I want to say something. We've seen them doing the tropes of each decade for this sitcom and stuff. I do think they did a good job of presenting like the Modern Family, like the cutaways, the talking head points, like the camera zooming in and zooming out and focusing on different things. I think they handled that really well. But it didn't have the same flow, I think, as some of the other parodies or homages they were doing. Like the way they did the 50s and 60s and 70s, I think worked well. They didn't capture that same feeling I was looking for. Maybe it's because I'm watching this much content in real time of the 2010s that I'm like, oh yeah, this is just basic, and it didn't have like that same nostalgia feel. That could be a part of it, but a part of me was just like, oh yeah, I get it. Okay, that's fine. So the idea is Wanda needs to have like a staycation. She extended her powers too much. She's kind of going a little crazy. She just needs to stay in and relax. Her kids are like, okay, Mom, you're acting a little weird. Our game's going all glitchy and everything. The world around her, pretty much the world in her house, is kind of like glitching into different decades, becoming different types of things, and she can't really control, and she's starting to realize that, yeah, she can't really do anything about this. And the entire time, too, Vision hasn't been home, so we don't know where Vision is at that moment, and we'll get to him in a bit here. But I'm liking this. I think of every decade, Elizabeth Olsen hasn't really hit that mark of like getting this genre, and probably because it's, 2010, she's seen enough television to know what to do, and it's not bad. I just think she really captured the essence of the period in each other decade except for this one, and it might be because I've seen her in movies and shit of this decade that doesn't really have that impact. Either way, I thought she did a good job here. The kids are beginning to come really fun too. And in order to give Wanda her little break, Agnes comes over and is like, why don't I take the kids? We'll go hang out. And I love Agnes's just long little pauses in her list, interesting little notes that she says certain things. Her cutaways are pretty funny, where she's like, oh, it's just the kids, I don't bite. And then she cuts away. I bit a kid once. That's good timing. That was the best time joke of the entire show, I think. It worked really well. Of course, we will come back to Agnes in the end. But I want to say, before we get to that end stuff with Agnes, Kathryn Hahn deserves so much more praise than she's ever been given. She has just been one of the most consistently concise actresses of our time. Everything she's in, whatever type of comedy or series she's doing, she is just so perfect in her portrayal, in her presence. I love her so much, and this was no exception. This was just so great to see her have that moment in this story. Man, it made me go, I love you, man. I love you, Kathryn Hahn. I want you to do more. I hope we see more of her in the MCU and in other projects. We'll get to that. So the kids go away with Agnes. They're doing their own thing there. Tommy and Billy are kind of asking if their mom's going to be okay, what's going on with their dad. But she doesn't have the answers for them. And in that time, too, we see that Vision kind of wakes up in the middle of a field. He goes to the circus where he sees all of these agents. He's like, I saw you last night. You were shooting a gun. What are you doing here? And we see that Darcy has become an escape artist. You're like, that's kind of cool. It doesn't really fit into anything we've seen from her before, but hey, works for me. So Vision slowly starts to wake her up after a little, a cute little thing where it's he kind of acts like he's hitting on her and she perceives it as that, but it's not really any of that. So you get it. It's the 2010s. You get the tropes. You understand it. You guys are on board with it or you're not. Either way, you know what's going on there. He gets her wakened up. You're like, okay, that's cool to see. Let's get on with our story. They steal a truck. A clown's coming after them, trying to get them back to the circus. It's funny stuff, and it works well. And that's one of the things I think did the best when it came to the sitcom decade, was the long shots or the wide shots where you see the vehicle driving away and the inside of the car. It felt very much like the 2010s, and I thought that was a really cool thing to see. It made me really happy. I like it a lot. What was it? The theme song for this episode was pretty Office and Modern Family inspired. Like, it's just Wanda's name going through a bunch of different stuff. It just gave me vibes of that kind of thing. I thought it looked really cool. I enjoyed it a lot. There's not really like a specific thing that this episode is like referencing, like I Love Lucy or Bewitched or anything. It's just, you get it. You guys see these stuff. You get it. I like that a lot, so that was pretty cool to see. So Darcy and Vision are on their way, but Wanda keeps setting up like construction workers and kids walking by on the road so they can't get by to the actual place. Another fun gag that I enjoyed seeing. And Vision's doing like the cutaways himself. When he's in the talking head, he's like, what am I doing here? Like, I should be trying to get to my wife. I think that was really funny. That was a good use of the joke too, and I like that Paul Bettany actually wore all the makeup this time in the suit, so that was kind of cool to see. But let's go back outside of the Hex. Let's talk about the thing that I'm sure made everybody disappointed who has been speculating online. So there was no actual like proof that the person that Monica was going to be in contact with was going to be Blue Marvel, was going to be a Skrull, was going to be Carol Danvers or Reed Richards or Sue Storm. None of that was confirmed. And it's none of those people, which I'm like, okay, I didn't need it to be one of those people. I thought right away, maybe they set up Blue Marvel because he is going to be a love interest to Monica, like in the comics. I thought that was the route they could have went. I like it more that it's just like some like captain in the army. That makes more sense to me. So they got like a high-tech experimental car. They're going to drive through the Hex shield, and you're like, oh, this is going to work. But it doesn't work. It backfires. The car starts to explode. Monica's struggling to get out. And when they get out, they're like, that was a lot of effort to get there. Monica still tries to get through into the breach. And this is a great thing, too. WandaVision, I think for a lot of people, the element that surprised us was just how much it was going to focus on Monica, which I'm okay with. I think having that side focus works well. I think it actually benefited the show to have Monica as that character. And when we see her go through the Hex this one time and like all her personalities are separating and everything's breaking down and she's trying to get through, and she finally pushes her way through and her eyes glow that nice blue hue, right away our girls become Photon. She's going to take... I like that they set up that Maria Lambo used the name Photon when they were doing like the weird, like I guess whatever she was doing with Carol Danvers in space. I like that because I was like, what name are they going to use? Are they going to call her a Captain Marvel? Are they going to call Monica, like Spectrum, like I think she is now? Stick with Photon. It's pretty much the best one. I'm just waiting for that Photon action figure. We don't have like an actual Marvel Legends Photon, do we? Or do we? I can't remember. Do we have one, or is that the Spectrum one? We don't have a classic one, I should say. It's fun. I like it a lot. So we see that Monica's going to become Photon. I like that a lot. And something I want to point out right away, watch the fight scene between her and Wanda where like those two are like yelling at each other, trying to help each other when Monica breaks through and gets to Wanda, because you will notice right away, in a sense, it looks like the two of them are wearing like a very stripped down version of their classic costumes. Monica's got like the gray and black shirt that's kind of in the pattern that we've seen Photon wear. Scarlet Witch is kind of wearing like her outfit from Age of Ultron with like the jacket that's red and the black shirt. I thought that was a pretty interesting thing to see. I mean, I like the relationship they're setting up here between Monica and Wanda. Like, I'm trying to help you, and I know you're not doing this. You could just like kind of help me get through this. Like, Pietro is probably not Pietro, okay? You have to realize what's going on here. And Wanda kind of gets frustrated by that. She's getting really mad at that idea. She doesn't really know how to react or how to respond to it, which is kind of a cool thing to see. It was funny. I thought they were gearing up to like a big fight. You can see when Wanda's like ready to use her powers, and we see that Monica does have her own powers, and it's like the blue and the red contrasting. The entire town around them freezes because like, okay, something's going to happen there. That's kind of exciting to see. But you're like, okay, let's do this fight. Let's go do this fight. And in walks Agnes. She's like, get away from Wanda. Just stop, okay? This is her place. Everything's fine. Agnes takes Wanda to her home. Nice little place going on there. It's cute. And she's like, where are my kids? Where are they? And they're like, oh, they're in the basement. And this was so good. Probably my favorite moment of the episode. And it's only for people who are so geeky like me. It's just the way the aspect ratio changed when Wanda walked down the stairs. Because you had the black fill the frame, and suddenly it narrowed up. It looked so good. It looked so good. That was clean. Whoever did that in the editing room, you deserve so much praise, because that was awesome. That was the highlight of the episode to me. And there was a bunch of good shit in this episode, man. But that was just so nice to see. So Wanda goes down the stairs. It's starting to look all viney and creepy. What's going on here? Agnes is just like, oh, Wanda, you silly old bear. You didn't think you were the only magic user in this neck of the woods? My name's Agatha Harkness. There's the reveal. The reveal we were all waiting for, that we all knew was coming. There it is. We got it. And we see that everything that's happened was Agatha doing it. And now I'm like, okay, what do you mean is all her? So we cut back to every episode, but this time it's the theme song to Agatha. What was it? Like, it's all Agatha? What was the name of the, it was like the title card. And you see, like, Agatha is everything. It's something like that. You guys know. And it's Catherine Hahn. It's her series now. We're seeing everything from her perspective, like how she brought Sparky in, how she brought Pietro in. Every like key event that happened in the show was Agatha's doing to keep Wanda here for some reason. Which I'm like, of course it is. Of course it had to be. Even like the shot where we see Wanda talking directly to the camera, like the person, like the crew person behind that was Agatha. I'm like, okay, of course it is. Please don't back down from making Wanda a bad guy too. Please make Wanda a bad guy. Like, I mean, not even like a bad person, like a terrible monster, but I don't want her to be completely absent-minded at the events that she's done. Like, I want it to be she went to Agatha to do this, and she was on board with it, and then, like, maybe Agatha made her mind go crazy, so she'd forget that she went to Agatha. I'd like that. I want Wanda to be in control of her actions here. I don't like the idea that Wanda is being controlled by somebody else. I don't like that. I think it should be that she and Agatha are working together and Wanda forgot that or like erased her own mind, or Agatha erased her mind to the effects of having Agatha in there. That would make me more happy than it just being Agatha. But as it stands, Catherine Hahn could do no wrong. I'm on board with her character. Give me more of it. I can't wait to see what else it's going to do. That's really, I just loved seeing her, man. It was so nice to see that. So, where are the kids? We still don't know. Monica's got her powers, and we see a post-credit scene where she gets knocked out by the guy that's playing Pietro Maximoff. We don't know who it is, really. I heard some theory saying it's Simon Williams' Wonder Man, but who really knows at this point? All I'm going to say is, everyone is speculating this is going to open up a lot of doors to a lot of things. I don't know if it is. Obviously, we know she'll be in Doctor Strange, but who really knows aside from that? I thought a lot of this was really cool to see. Vision's still not there, so Vision and Darcy still have to get there somehow. What's going to happen in the next episode? It was great to set up the world we're in now. Wanda lost control of her powers, and we're in the 2010s, so you kids can understand the references now. And let's bring up the commercial we got this episode for Nexus. Now, I think this was the most ambiguous one compared to a lot of things, because it's kind of more about like the future of the MCU. So Nexus, if I'm not mistaken, is like the kind of like what they call like the way to get between different like universes and dimensions and multiverse stuff. Is the basis of that. But also Wanda is a Nexus being, meaning that there is only one interpretation of her throughout the entire timeline of these different universes and multiverses. I believe that is the case now. I can't remember if that. I know there's a few of them. Like Kang the Conqueror is one of them. I think Franklin Richards is one of them, and like Odin is another one. Like those three guys, kind of like they exist in the multiverse as one being, and there's no other counterpart to them. I think that's the case. I think Wanda is one of those people too. So that's very cool. I like that idea. So I think having like Nexus be like the next commercial, you're going to be like, I wonder what that's a reference to. I wonder what that's going to set up. Probably Doctor Strange in one of the next two episodes, which is kind of exciting to see. I liked this. A really fun episode. Not my favorite. I don't think the format worked as perfectly for some of the other sitcoms, but I love what it did to Monica. I love what it did to Wanda. And I love what it did to Agatha. A lot of us at the end of those names. They all blend into one sound when you think about it. So that is my review of WandaVision Episode 7. Classic television. It's going to break the fourth wall for you, and you're going to enjoy it because it's great. So thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, all that good stuff, and I'll catch you in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe. Good luck.